Right. Welcome, everybody. Time for your morning intelligence briefing. Joining me, as always, is someone who's qualified to do this because clearly I'm not. Former Danish intelligence officer, former UN Security Council member, live in Copenhagen, Denmark. Please welcome Jacob Karsbo. You can follow him on right here on Substack at Jacob Karsbo. Last time we did one of these, I was shocked at how many people watched it. Like tens of thousands of people came and watched you disseminate information you can't get on mainstream media, Jacob. But the story that we're going to talk about today, as you pointed out before we started, it's all out in the open now. It's all happening now. Like I don't know how much of this is intelligence, how much of it isn't, but let's get to it because we have major breaking news. The country of Denmark has just labeled the United States of America, for all intensive purposes, an enemy of the Danish people.
A threat to our nation. I've been saying this for a long time, actually, but it's one thing for Private Jacob here to say it and just say, well, this is what I found out. I think the U.S. is a threat.
Yeah.
But then for our intelligence service, my former colleagues, my former boss, to come out and say it, and for our government to say it officially, that's really something. And that's yeah. I didn't anticipate it, actually.
Like you didn't see it coming because we saw, what was it Holland the other day? It was a couple of weeks ago. They're like, hey, we're just going to stop talking intelligence with the United States of America. It's a zero-sum effort, which you thought was groundbreaking. But that pales in comparison. Take us through it. What the reasoning was, the announcement, and what Denmark said about the United States of America under Trump.
Yeah, I mean, they're saying different things, They're saying about, Greenland that we've talked about on this show beforehand. Also the threat towards Greenland. And they're also talking about using, economic coercion against Denmark and the European countries. And also what we spoke about on Friday, this, subversive influence and, trying to bring MAGA movements to power in the European countries, following the national security strategy. Mm-hmm. So it's on various levels. But I will tell you this: as I've told you before, I've just finished the script for a new book, and we're talking about all this stuff. And I'm saying in the book, well, we're probably not going to see the intelligence service come out and label the U.S. a threat because of political considerations, because of NATO, etc., etc. And then this happens. So
did it.
We're just adjusting the script right now.
Oh yeah, because you got your manuscript in for your book. Now you're like, I guess I was fucking wrong.
Right. What? Not the content, but the political sensitivities. Yeah.
You're like, oh, Denmark grew a spine. This is incredible. If I'm not mistaken, it's the first European country, EU country, that's like, we're labeling the United States a threat to our national security. If I'm not mistaken, correct?
I to my knowledge, it's the first, but I will say I'm confident that it's been discussed between European allies, perhaps also Canada even.
It is.
Because we can't sit alone on this. We're a small nation. So if Trump just goes ballistic and pulls the U.S. out of NATO or whatever he can get up, whatever he'll say, then if everyone then points to Denmark and say it's your fault, blah blah. So I'm quite confident that we've discussed it with major partners. Just like this summer, we saw the French with their navy go to Greenland, and we saw German Navy vessels go to Greenland, and we saw French soldiers training in Greenland for exercise with Danish soldiers. That wouldn't have happened before, so this was all in this scenario also. But I'm quite confident before saying this publicly, it would have been cleared with at least major European allies.
Major EU allies, some NATO member states, specifically the states in and around the Baltics, Denmark, and a very very close knit group of community. I mean, listen, that part of the world, that sort of Scandinavian part of the world, very different sensibilities that have dealt with Russian aggression for 100 years, right? Like this is not new. This is it. It's been going on and on and on and on. So they know what a threat is to their national security. They have labeled
Yeah.
Russia a threat to their national security because they keep sending drones into your ports and over major military installations. And so to do this to America, to slap that label on America is not just unprecedented. It's hard to imagine, but I kind of want to get under the hood of what that means
Mm.
for the Danish people, Danish parliament. What does it mean when, because in Canada, when we label something a national threat, the powers that be get enormous power to be able to deal with that national threat, whether it's a national security emergency, an insurgency emergency. We saw it with the Flu Trucks Clan, which is that stupid fucking trucker convoy a couple of years ago. Where like, listen, you've been taking a dump in the streets for 3 weeks, you hillbillies. It's time to go. So we brought in the horses and we moved everybody out. That was a national security. It gave them the ability to do things. But is this just a title in Denmark, or does this lead to XYZ for the country of Denmark in terms of decision making when it comes to
Mm.
intelligence sharing, when it comes to military installations, when it comes to your F-35s, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera?
Mm.
What happens now?
Yeah. On the intelligence side, the intelligence agency needs to protect Denmark and Danish security. So when they allocate collection resources, they allocate them towards the threats against Denmark. So that means, somehow they will try to collect intelligence to really be able to get a grasp of these threats and how
Hmm.
they evolve from the U.S. side. What kind of collection they're going to try to make? Will it be human intelligence? Will it be some kind of signals intelligence? Whatever. I don't know, and that's none of my business. But that's what they must do. So that's one thing. And then, in from a military sense, as I said before, the big thing really is that we started seeing French Navy and Army units visit Greenland this summer, and German navies. So we're likely to see more of that, and we've also sent, our own precious assets to Greenland.
Hmm.
But we're likely to see more of that.
So a bit
And
of a military buildup, strategic military buildup, strategic military partnerships, kind of like the
y-
UK has done with Germany and France in regards to what we're going to talk about in a second, which is Ukraine. Yes, okay, go ahead.
yeah, exactly. So they those are the main precautions, and then today officially our politicians and my former agency, the DDIS, are still maintaining, but the U.S. is still our ally and our major ally, our strongest ally. Why will they say that? Well, there's actually a good reason, because we don't want to get the blame for breaking up NATO. If someone breaks up NATO, it'll have to be Donald Trump himself. So that's why I'm sure they'll keep this line going, even though you can't say an ally that's a threat, and that's gobbledygook.
It's a conundrum.
It's but they are threatening us. That's
Yeah.
wink wink. So that's pure political gobbledygook.
Wait, is
Um,
the reasoning, sorry, and real quick, is the reasoning to label them a national security threat what they're talking about in the rhetoric around Greenland? Or obviously they've got some intelligence and they've watched and looked, the words and works matter, right? The words
mm,
are not the works, and the works are
yeah.
national security strategy that says the EU is the enemy of the United States and you better get cozy with Russia. Was that it? Was that the one thing? Or are they acting on other intelligence, Dana?
No, I think this has been a long time coming.
Okay.
With regard to Greenland, you know how you define a threat? A threat is intent, its capacity, And as I've said for a long time, given Donald Trump's statements, given J.D. Vance's crazy statements about Greenland, of course there is an intent. And of course, the US has the capacity. So we've known there's a threat against Greenland for a long time. But then the third thing that determines the level is there a specific plan? Are they specifically planning to do something about it? Have they started, putting a planning exercise through the Pentagon or whatever? And that I don't know, because that will require,
Well,
intelligence
if you need to call a national security threat and you need all three of those pillars to be able to do so, they must have some information that would dictate.
No, they don't. No, no, no. Actually, you don't need information on planning, because if the intent and the capability is there to do it, then it's already a medium threat. So if it's more elevated than that, you talk about planning. And I don't know if they've collected that. That's a possibility.
Can't you just call somebody? Aren't you like an OG in the Danish intelligence service? You could just give them a call.
I don't even want to try, because I don't want to get anyone into trouble. And
I don't think you're getting anybody into trouble now. They just made a fucking major announcement. The United States is a threat to the national security of Denmark. And I want to kind of break this down, because it's not just Denmark. And you're saying that they would have had conversations, multilateral conversations with other countries, and those other countries would have co-signed Denmark's declaration of the United States being effectively a national security risk to the state of Denmark. And so there must be other announcements coming in support of what Denmark's saying. I'm hearing that Canada's readying a statement very, very shortly as well. So we'll get to that in just a second. But let's go. Oh, yeah. We'll get to that in just a second. After that national security strategy dropped, which was effectively like, hey, guys, America's now Team Russia. Fuck you. France called it a brutal clarification. French officials called Trump's new security doctrine a brutal clarification that amounts to the U.S. picking a fight with democratic Europe, preparing for a future, France says, where America is no longer an ally, or at least a dependable one. Germany, Berlin seeing Trump's interference in European politics, massive destabilization force. Behind closed doors, German officials are talking about the end of post-World War II order. They're not exaggerating at all. Mers is a very fucking serious cat. The UK, after Brexit and getting hooped into that by Putin, they're now calling the canary in Washington's coal mine. Even post-Brexit, Britain, America's clingiest historical partner, quietly repositioning. London's already joined an emergency trilateral defense coordination with France. Germany increased in case Trump pulls the plug on NATO, which he is alleging he was going to do in that document. It all comes from the stupid fucking document. When the Brits don't trust you, fellas, you're in shit. Sweden and Finland. Now, these are hard people to piss off, along with the Danes. Like, it's very. You guys ride your bikes, you swim to work, and you do a lot of Lego, and you snowshoe and ski. Sweden, Finland, neighboring Russia is hard enough. We don't need this. That's really kind of the bullshit from Sweden and Finland as they're experiencing. These are bluntly stating now that they say U.S. unpredictability is a strategic risk on par with Russian aggression. Both of those countries have said that. They look at the United States like they look at Russia, like the rose-colored USA glasses are off. And the entire European Union is openly talking now about life after America, America not being involved in their own sovereignty, which is a huge move, something that took 85 years for the United States of America to arrive at. That is why they were such a beautiful nation for so long. They were the world police. Now they're saying we're going to step back. So the vacuum is here. What do you expect to happen now that Denmark has kind of pulled the plug? Because these are very serious comments and statements from former allies that Trump has completely turned off right now.
Yeah, one comment before that.
Yeah.
Because while you were reading this stuff, there was a message coming, on my phone from Malcolm Nance. I guess most of our listeners know Malcolm Nance.
Mm-hmm.
He wrote, "Jesus, we're fucking pariahs." How Malcolm Nance is that?
At least you can laugh about it, right? I mean, Malcolm's the best. He's a good buddy. And you know what? He's telling the fucking truth. Malcolm
He
Nance,
is.
that statement couldn't be more true. Every American I've run into over the past, I would say, 3, 4 months, 2 trips to the United States, entertained some Americans here for some business a couple of weeks ago, and they all say the same thing. We're so fucking embarrassed to be us.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. And I get messages from some of my former colleagues in the various US agencies saying this is shit what's going on. So
Oh, you
lots of
do.
Americans.
You got some whistleblowers in the in American intelligence circles that are like, "Hey, this place is fucked."
Yeah, exactly. Well, no, the retired ones,
Oh,
not the
okay.
ones inside. They wouldn't dare. But anyhow, yeah. It's
What's the
hard to.
cascading effect after Denmark's statement? Is my point. I went through
Yeah,
the yeah, yeah,
e-
yeah.
exactly. I expect you'll see more of these things come out.
Yep.
Now, personally, I would like to see an emergency European summit, but there is an EU summit already next week,
Hmm.
a normal summit. So I guess they'll probably squeeze these security issues into that summit anyway. But what we need to have a really serious conversation about in Europe and also with you Canadians is some model of a new NATO a treaty bound uh,
Pact, compact.
a new pact, yeah, yeah, somehow, not the Warsaw Pact, but the Warsaw are the good guys now, so it could be a new war. Who knows?
It's
Anyway,
amazing who the good guys are now. I mean, for guys that are vintage, right? You're watching like Germany and France line up together, and Warsaw. You're like, oh yeah, they're on our team
uh,
now. That's
uh,
good.
so no, but anyway, I would like to see something really happening because
Yeah.
we need to have a framework where we know who will take the lead if Putin orders little green men into Estonia, for instance. You know, how's the command structure? Because at this point in time, I don't know who's doing that. And I don't know the leader. We can't have this coalition of the willing thing with, oh, we have to have Macron and we have to have Starmer, we have to have Merz. We can't keep going on like that.
Yeah.
And when we don't have the US and when the US is trying to play us in Ukraine, and, Ukraine is more important to our security than the US these days.
Yeah,
So,
listen. I would put Ukraine at the front of that bus for you want comms leadership. You would put
pause the
Ukraine right at the
industry.
front. You're like they're in charge. What do we do? You guys been beating the shit out of them with like Walmart and Canadian Tire drones for the past I don't know how
Yeah,
long. But you bring up a great point, right? That chain of command without that vacuum of the
yeah,
United States not being involved, which is why Trump doesn't want to be involved in NATO anymore because he just wants to abdicate the responsibility of that post World War II structure where the United States enjoyed being the world bully. Like, let's be
yeah,
fucking honest. They really enjoyed it. Donald Trump probably would enjoy it, but he doesn't have. Russia's got so much compromise on him. They're just making him destroy everything the United States has built over the past 80 to
yeah,
85 years, including your relationship with Denmark. And that to me, aside from the fact that there's no real plan other than we need an emergency plan and let's get together and talk about that emergency plan. The death of that relationship, that 80 to 85 years, the death of the United States place keeping the world order in place is one of the saddest events of my lifetime.
yeah. It is. It is. I said on Friday that the U.S. has abdicated its role as the big beacon of democracy and defender of democracy worldwide,
Mhm.
and it has. And we've been talking about that before.
Mhm.
Of course, they have already. But this is the national security was the document where they abdicated officially.
Mhm.
That
Mhm.
that that's what I would. There's not been a document, something official that has come out to that effect. So I think historians will look back upon that as the day when the U.S. abdicated that role. And
Mm.
that's really sad. But again, I've been in a lot of these meetings over the years where the talk has been about the Europeans need to assume more responsibility and blah
Sure.
blah blah. They need to pay more, and that's been entirely fair. We haven't done our job, but and that's not something that everyone realizes.
Mm-mm.
At the same time, the US hasn't wanted us to be too clever.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
haven't wanted us to be too clever. Now, don't be too powerful. Don't, and this makes it quite clear that now the US is gone.
Yeah.
We have to do it.
It's interesting because it wasn't just the EU that was labeled in that document as a problem for democracies. It's fucking crazy, and a problem for Donald Trump's vision of how the world should work. And you're right to cast some aspersions on some of these EU countries that just deferred to the United States. I'm intimately familiar with that living in Canada. Back in the 60s, we developed this hypersonic jet that was literally meant to protect the Arctic and fight against Russians called the Avro Arrow, right? And you remember the Avro Arrow? Do you ever hear anything about the
No,
Avro Arrow? Oh, yeah,
I
yeah.
actually don't.
Scared the shit out of the U.S. military establishment. So they sent their people up to talk to John Diefenbaker, who was the prime minister at the time, and said, listen, you're just going to scrap your entire military program. We'll take care of you. You sit back, you grow grain, give us some water, a little bit of energy from
Yeah,
here on in, and we'll take care of business. We'll give you some missiles and stuff. So that's what they did. We destroyed literally one of the greatest inventions in Canadian history, which was meant to protect Canada's northern borders and the entire country of Canada, because the United States military complex was like, don't do it. And to your point, we get chastised for not spending enough of our GDP with NATO. We get chastised for not having a military, but we have literally been told for the past 60 to 70 to 80 years by the United States it's not enough. And then when we try to do something, they'll call us a vassal state. And to that point,
yeah,
in this document, it chastises Canada as a vassal state of the United States of America. That's pure Kremlin language, saying that we should be the sphere of responsibility of the United States when we fucking clearly have moved on. Number one, and number two, one of the arguments that came out of this NSS, which was perpetrated by people in the Trump regime, they're like, hey, listen, don't, to your point, don't get too cute, because if you become a military superpower like you're doing right now, you're saying no to our F-35s. If you're not doing military the way we want you to do it, we will consider you a national security threat. So they're talking out of both sides of their stupid mouths, is my point.
yeah,
And we're very familiar with it. And now Canada's like, fuck that. We're going to spend 5% of our GDP. We're
yeah.
going to do a deal with Sweden. We're going to build Saab Gripens here. We're going to walk away from the F-35. And we're just not fucking interested in the rhetoric anymore.
Exactly, exactly. But they it's whichever way you look at this.
Yeah.
Also, the document on Friday, it could have been written in the Kremlin. I mean, it's the same,
Dude, I've got reports from Olga Lautman that says it was.
yeah, lying bullshit and twisting and turning and twisting all the arguments and all that nonsense that you see from the Kremlin. Are they threatening us? We have to invade and all that bullshit. And it's a the really crazy thing. They talk about liberty and freedom being run over by the EU. You would know the Freedom House ratings of democracies, and coincidentally, all the European countries and probably Canada are right at the top. Just below them is the US. And you know which European country scores the lowest by far?
Russia?
Well, yeah, Russia. No match. But Hungary.
Hungary, yeah. Orban.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Of course.
Yeah.
So, and that's not even coined as. There's not even labeled as a democracy anymore in this Freedom House rating.
Well, dude, there was
So,
another organization called Civicus that came out with their new Freedom Index, and they officially labeled the United States of America an obstructed democracy, saying
yeah,
that the United States is no longer a democratic country for the first time in the United States
yeah,
history, and they aligned it literally with Viktor Orban's Hungary in the same terms of an obstructed dictatorship or an obstructed democracy or an anonocracy, which is, when the people in power give you the idea that you're all about freedom and you're a democracy, when that is literally the fucking last thing you are. And that is the United States today, according to Civicus, Freedom House, and several other indicators. And to your point,
Yeah.
Canada top five with when it comes to most loved free countries. Sweden, Denmark, Finland, Norway, Canada, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in that order every fucking year. Every year.
Yeah. Yeah. And guess what? Yeah, I think the Freedom House publication comes out in February. And you know what's going to happen with the US after Trump has, exploded his hand grenade in the middle of all the institutions? Down, down, down the score. So they're going to approach Hungary and compete with Viktor Orban as a retreated democracy, or whatever they call it.
Obstructed.
An autocracy, really.
An autocracy. That's what it is.
Or as General Milley said, wannabe dictator. That's what Mark Milley said when he retired.
He
You
knew
don't
him too.
swear
Yeah.
an oath to a tyrant or wannabe dictator.
Yeah.
He was in the room, Mark Milley.
Yeah. And you know what is funny, when he got Mad Dog Mattis, and then Mark Milley, the entire the entire Democratic progressive left was like, those guys are warmongers, and it's amazing how fucking cool they are not warmongers whatsoever. And they're like, and that's why Donald Trump doesn't have anybody of note running anything important in the United States of America. He's got a bunch of yes men, because you're not going to get a career soldier to say, yeah, Donald Trump knows what he's doing. You're not going to get a career general to do, unless that career general is seriously compromised by MAGA and his cult belief systems, and if he's seriously self-involved. But generally speaking, that is not the attitude of the U.S. military. They swear a blood oath to the Constitution, not a dude, and that's what Milley was saying. Yeah,
exactly. So yeah, everything is going crazy.
Great way to end it. Jacob Carsbo, he is a former Danish intelligence officer, former UN Security Council member. He is now a contractor and an educator, and he just wrote a book that summarizes all of this stuff from the intelligence perspective. Waiting on that book. Cannot thank you enough for doing this with us, Jacob. It's always awesome to catch up with you, brother.
One thing about that book before
please.
leaving you, because I just got the front page layout today.
Yeah.
And the editors, they were discussing, will we have just Trump on there staring on Denmark, or will we have both Trump and Putin? And I said, and there was a layout with both of them. And they had put Putin in the west and Trump in the east. And I said, hey, you got to switch. So, so it's Trump looking at Denmark from the west and Putin from the east.
Oh my God, that's brilliant! Yeah. I guess it depends on which way you're reading it too. Like, which way you're pointing. What's the name of the book?
Subverted.
Subverted.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I can't wait. You're not going to tell us about anything.
Subversion, man.
You're not going to tell us anything about it either. You're going to wait till it comes out. I keep doing that with your hands. I'm going to keep laughing. Hey, Jacob, listen, really appreciate you doing this. Please follow Jacob. Go and subscribe right now. He does daily intelligence briefings, sometimes from the scene of the crime, like when drones are actually around shadow fleets. It's absolutely insane. So please go and subscribe to him here on Substack. He is Jacob, real simple, no K, it's a C, Jacob, K-A-A-R-S-B-O. Jacob, K-A-A-R-S-B-O, right here on Substack. Give him a sub, become a paid subscriber, become a free subscriber, but do whatever you can to keep this man in your life, because he makes sense of everything. And it sometimes sounds fun. It's really weird. The end of the geopolitical world, you somehow are able to make it sound fun and interesting and lighthearted.
Yeah, I mean, when you do some of the really tough training and around special operations forces, etc., you also have to have fun, even though it stinks. Yeah. So regardless of the situation, you have to be able to, to have a smile.
Dude, I always do with you. Thanks for doing this, Jacob. We'll talk to you very soon.
See you soon, Dean. See
You
you
got it,
soon,
buddy.
everyone.
You got it. Jacob Carsbo, ladies and gentlemen, Danish intelligence, former UN Security Council member, all around good guy that likes to keep people in the know. Specifically, if you're a follower of his, you can get his daily briefing. It is incredible. Go and subscribe to him again. Jacob Karsbo. Quick little aside for all of you that stuck around. Canada's getting ready to make a statement as well. Do I know the tenor of that statement? I do not. But Canada is getting ready to make a statement instead of constantly responding to every single dumb thing that crazy bastard does. Canada's wired different, kind of wired like the Danes, kind of wired like um, Norway, Sweden. We just get on with the shit. And then when we have to say something, we say something, but it's never about the shit. It's always about our job in the shit and what we're going to do to go forward. It's just how we are. We're kind of a stoic nation that way. Save some of the hillbillies like America has, MAGAs, Maple MAGAs. Canada's generally filled with hardworking individuals. And we've elected a real leader as prime minister who embodies that. Mark Carney embodies shut the fuck up, get to work. Work your way out of trouble. Doesn't matter what the other guys are doing. Sure, we'll pay attention to that. We'll be diplomatic. But Mark Carney and Canada are the only country and the only leader of a country that haven't capitulated to Donald Trump, which I'm very proud of. And Mark Carney and the government of Canada are busy building our military, busy completely pivoting every alliance we have away from the United States, busy pivoting away from anything that sounds U.S. dependent. Everything, absolutely everything. Everything's covered in Kuzma. It's our trade agreement with the United States. We'll let that continue. But Jacob's right. And Canada grew some balls, and the rest of the EU has to grow some balls. Because this was always going to be the problem. Overdependence on a state. In case a madman rose to the head of leadership of that state, strongest military superpower in the world, literally run by a psychopathic fucking dementia patient who loves fascists and just threw all of his chips in the middle and said, I'm going all in with Russia, China, North Korea, Iran, Israel. That's where we're at. And so to have guys like Jake would come and explain the significance of this, like I get it, but I don't get the nuance. No one really does. That's why we have to have these conversations. That's why we do what we do. We're like 5 allied country statements away from literally putting Trump MAGA in a box where the rest of the United States has to do something to get rid of them. Otherwise, it is over. And for all intents and purposes, it's over. Our special relationship with the United States is over. Our old relationship over. Mark Carney said it dozens of times. Now we've got ink on paper that says it's over. And it should be. It's not saying we can't have that relationship again. There's an article in the Toronto Star this week, which was fascinating. And it was written by some people like, Bob Ray, who was the UN ambassador from Canada for a long time. And he said, hey, listen, there's just certain aspects of our relationship with the United States that will never, ever come back. I politely disagree because I love my American friends. I see your soul. We know you're the vast majority of that population. So when nations like Denmark, Canada, Sweden, other countries who are going to come out and make these statements that America is a national security threat, they're not talking about you. I'm talking about your president. And you have to remember that. You can get embarrassed by it because he's embarrassing. My God, he's fucking embarrassing. You've got a rapist that keeps shitting himself and a 34-time felon running your country and he can't remember what fucking day it is or what room he's in. It's pretty fucking embarrassing. It's not strength. It's just a guy that shits himself and can't remember how to say things. Who's also a fascist with dementia. It's kind of important to remember. It's the importance of keeping your foot on the gas, the importance of subscribing to people like Jacob, subscribing here, sharing this content, hammering those hearts, hitting that little square at the box, sharing this conversation with other people who are not going to know that Denmark made this move today because it's not going to get widely reported in mainstream media. Share, share, share. Subscribe. Follow Jacob. And if you got time, give us a follow as well. Dean Blundell at substack.com. DeanBlundell.substack.com is where you can find me. We've got 25% off yearly subscriptions. You get full access. You lock in that price for life. For $150, you become a founding member. You never pay again. And I think $8 a month. It's super, super cheap to get full access to all this, access to the paid chat, access to exclusive content like Coffee and Tea with Dean and Lev. We do that every single Lev Parnas, of course, every single Saturday where we sit and shoot the shit with you and bring you up and talk to you. We love that. You ask all the questions. You drive it all. So go and subscribe, deanblundell.substack.com. Thanks for joining us for the Intel briefing today. I'll be back at 3 o'clock with the 5 stack, the 5 biggest stories you need to know today. It's like drinking from a fire hose of fascism and hope. Anyway, we'll see you at 3 o'clock right here with my friend Zev Shalev. Thanks for joining us. Your time is valuable, so when you give it to us, we really appreciate it. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for joining. Talk to you soon. Bye.